Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game 3 in what has so far been an amazing series. I can't express how awesome Game 2 was, how awesome Game 1 was. I wouldn't say, like, they're the best games I've ever seen, but the fact that Idra even says good luck, have fun, and is well mannered so far. That gives me a little bit of hope for him, as he is known as, I guess, the bad boy of StarCraft 2. But he's, I still think he's a nice guy. He's a really strong player, and he just has a lot of heart and passion for the game. So I totally think, Idra, hats off to you. You're a great player, and hopefully, and best of luck to both Elfi and Idra in this Game 3 series, or Game 3 in this series. Getting a little bit tongue-tied there, but yeah, go ahead and watch Game 1, Game 2. They're very interesting games. People are saying don't spoil the other games. I'm like, well, what do you mean don't spoil the other games? I mean, I just cast them. It's part of a series. But then again, I do understand that you guys don't want me to spoil the game, so I will not spoil the games for you, as we do see a front door pylon and gateway now being established by Elfi, and a little bit curious. The reason I'm curious as to why Elfi is doing this, as Elfi, as normally Terminus is much more of a macro style of a macro map. This one Overlord is going to quickly fly into this location here, spot the assimilator, and now the drone is going to go check if there is a nexus. If there's not a nexus, then I'm really wondering what Idra is going to try to do on the defensive end. Idra, so far from the games I've seen from this particular round of replays, hasn't dealt with a lot of early harassment. And because he isn't dealing with early harassment right now, he's been able to freely drone up, get up into that double hatchery and try to get a very strong economic strategy opening into the game. So Idra now flying by with this Overlord still hasn't spotted the front door, which is very important, as he's most likely expecting to see a nexus down over here, but he did see a gas. And did he actually see two gas? Yes, he actually spotted two gas coming in from Elfi, and that is a rather strange opening. Elfi does already have his Cybernetics core, now chrono boosting out a Stalker. The Stalker is going to make its way down in over here. We are already going into some early Zerglings, so those Zerglings will be able to destroy that Stalker pretty easily, especially without an early Zealot. So not quite sure what this Stalker is going to do, except for almost walk straight into his death if he wants to try to make his way over to this one particular hatchery. There's going to be two Zerglings on the field, perhaps even four, but perhaps the Stalker will be able to fight back those Zerglings pretty easily. Perhaps kite them. They do not have weapon speed upgrade. They're getting a little bit of damage. Yeah, there you go, taking down one of those Zerglings, almost a give me, as a second Stalker now going to come in, and it is going to attack move 1, 2, 3, 4. And both Zerglings have been destroyed already. A lot of queens are now being trained, as a Stalker just simply walking straight into the base. Rather interesting. We'll see what's going to happen here, as the queen is now coming in, and the queen and Zerglings are going to try to engage, getting some easy damage onto the queen. The Stalker getting some easy damage there. You can see that the Stalker does have superior range and mobility right now, just constantly poking its head in, and Elfi doing a good job of forcing Idra to train units as opposed to drones, now continuing to put down this pressure. However, the queen, the metabolic boost about to be completed. Elfi has to be a little bit careful here. This one Stalker needs to micro away, and beautifully done, moving that Stalker to the back. So it is going to be Stalkers trying to go after Zerglings. Is it going to be enough? The Zerglings are about to finish that metabolic boost, and Elfi needs to capitalize on the time where he has the same movement speed. And no, it looks like he's just going to back off. So that early gamble into some early Stalkers didn't really work out well for him, as Idra now going to be running off of 3 bases and also has a stronger economic advantage with that third base and more drones. This Nexus is nowhere near being completed, as the Zerglings are now going to try to swarm in their way to the front. And what is going to happen here? The Zerglings trying to push their way through. Sorry, just too much damage around the back end there, as the Zerglings are now going to attempt to destroy these backdoor rocks. A Stalker down over here does spot that the rocks are currently being picked apart. and that is going to be a little bit difficult as Elfi has no way to get sight up onto that high ground except for hallucination. He may be able to use hallucination very well, now getting some damage onto those Zerglings, and he needs to be very careful though. If he's not careful, the Zerglings are simply just going to be able to run by. Down over here, the rocks now down to half life. This is not looking good for Elfi. Elfi is significantly behind in food, 16 food right now. A Stalker now on the low ground, perhaps trying to get even more damage in, and what is going to happen here, I can't really quite say. I think the Zerglings are going to be able to make their or push their way in rather easily, as Zerglings are now going to try to engage. A force field could have trapped in those Zerglings, and that would have slowed down Idra's attack. Idra with a smaller army overall, but he also has a lot more drones, so that is very interesting, as Elfi now needs to figure out what his strategy is transitioning into the mid-game. This set of rocks here, pretty much already destroyed, can easily get taken down. The Zerglings are going to be able to funnel through in just a second. And as soon as that back door does open, it's going to put Elfi in a very uncomfortable situation. He's going to feel a lot of pressure just sitting inside his base, almost like double bishops in chess, knowing that he can be flanked in from a different side as well, being forced to leave units on the defensive. But we can see a robotics bay now being added. So a robotics bay being added here as we are now going into tier 2. We've also seen, hallucinations are on the move across the mini-map to quickly spot everything. Idra is running off of 4 hatcheries, 1 macro hatch, 3 bases. The Phoenixes are what... The hallucinations have been spotted down or been taken down, as an observer now making its way in as well. The key question is whether or not Elfi is going to perhaps use hallucinated Colossi. Hallucinated Colossi, very, very effective at absorbing a lot of damage and keeping your other Colossi alive. The robotics bay right now being completed. Robotics... we should start seeing Colossi being trained, perhaps even extended thermal lance range. There you go. As another Phoenix now taken to the skies in order to gain a little bit more sight. An Overlord sitting off in between these 2 bases here, hasn't really spotted anything, but still glad that it is alive. Now looking across the map to see what is currently being researched. I never even noticed that the little guy in the roach warren actually pops out occasionally. Alright, so yes, there is this one observer still gaining sight still, as Idra now moving to take up his 4th base. So 4th base off of 5 hatcheries. Elfi does know about this, as there are a lot of gateways down here. Perhaps adding a photon cannon or 2 would be helpful. The photon cannon would essentially just stop any Zergling pressure on these gateways, as the gateways could fall rather quickly. A lot of surface area for those Zerglings and those Hydralisks to try to get a very, very good concave. Roach is now coming in. Idra with a massive army, more than actually not more than double, but a very decent size. But now in comes a round of warp gates, so who is going to have the more damaging units, as the roaches are now pushing in over here. It looks as though the sentries are going to be trying to move in, and there is a force field. There are some more force fields. Roaches and Zerglings unable to engage as those roaches are trying to battle it out. The Colossus is backing off, very nice, making sure to stay alive, as the roaches are in a very unfortunate situation and now being forced to pull back there. This one Colossus now gonna get extended thermal lance range. I think it just got it. Yes, it just got it now, as the roaches are now taking down these gateways over here. So the gateways are gonna fall, and now perhaps the units are gonna be able to just simply freely run through, as the Zerg is now trying to attack through the main door. One Zealot holding off the swarm, massive number of force fields, and that Zealot absolutely stopping this attack. And Idra now trying to take down this pylon over here instead. The gateways are now currently unpowered. The roaches are now trying to make their way in. A force field at the right time, and Idra in a bit of trouble with only 1 roach inside this base. A Stalker gonna battle it up against a roach. A Colossus gonna make its way out. And now, come on, Colossus, don't let your Stalker brethren die. A Stalker brethren is gonna die over here. As that 1 roach is down to 6 hit points. It looks as though the Colossus will try to chase back. No, finish off this roach here. Could have saved a... What is Elfi doing? Come on, Elfi. warping in a new stalker in order to finish off that roach. Now, Idra has taken a lot of map control in that engagement. He has a superior advantage in terms of economy, and now going into Spire Tech, we are currently having or sitting on 2 Colossus with a third one being trained. And that is going to be very important to try to get all of these Colossus in play and engaging before the Spire and the Corruptors come out. As soon as that Spire is up, it will be very easy for Idra to train up 6 to 8 Corruptors in a moment's notice with the benefit of the Zerg larva system. And as soon as those Colossi are not going to be able to deal nearly as or deal as much damage in free engagements, they're not going to be that successful or that useful any longer. Roaches are now once again scampering across the field. Hydralisk also moving out as well. One Roach leading the way, trying to see what exactly is there, going to spot a very large Protoss army. You can see that. Like that is just a very large Protoss ball, over 32 units, as now we are going to see all of these units back off. Spire about to be completed, but there's not enough food cap in order to get enough Corruptors at this time. We are going into Hive Tech, and now the Spine Crawlers are being added. Changelings also being added to this group as well. The Changeling going to, be a Zealot. Is it going to get spotted? Yes, it does get spotted there, as now the Colossi need to really push their way in. Zerglings are now coming, or perhaps going to try to come in through that back door. A round of Stalkers already in position. Oh, Zerglings able to simply run by, and that is going to be a problem inside the mineral line once more. Nexus now being established back over here, as Zealot is going to come in to try to engage. The Zerglings are holding position, not quite sure why, as the Roaches are now going to try to fight back over here. The Stalkers are going to get some free Overlord kills very, very easily, as the Roaches are going to engage. In come a couple force field. Corruptors are also in this engagement as well. The Stalkers do not have Blink, so without the Stalkers and Blink, this is going to be very difficult, as the Stalkers are now up on the high ground as well. Corruptors are not really able to get within range. A couple more force fields, and this is going to be a very bad battle for Idra. Idra losing a lot of his Roaches in this engagement, but the Corruptors are finishing off the Colossus. Corruptors are now forcing to retreat once again. This is not looking good. The Colossi have backed off once again as well, and it looks like this hatchery from Idra will fall, and Idra in trouble, even though he has a food advantage of 30 units, unable to stop this Protoss mechanical ball of Stalkers, Sentries, and Colossi. With the help of one observer, it looks as though, yes, the Spine Crawlers are going to fall. There is another hatchery back over here at the 6 o'clock position. Luckily, as Idra now continues to just a move with this rather large army, but Elfi now going to shut down the 4th base as well of Elfi, as the Roach is getting a very nice concave, trying to make sure to minimize that damage. It looks like only one Colossus is left. The Corruptor is still focusing it down. Roach is trying to give chase. The Stalkers now finally off of creep, but the Roaches still move slightly faster, and that Colossus's days are going to be numbered. There it goes. And now Idra able to muster enough of a counterattack after a large round of units did come in to reinforce. Hatchery down over here starting to train up some drones as well. Harvester count 81 compared to 71. Level 2 weapons upgrade has been started, as the main base has pretty much already been mined out. Elfi sitting with 3 idle probes at his main base, but with no additional nexus to be established anywhere. This is really bad news. Idra now with this Overseer able to fly through, pneumatize Carapace. Oh, not faster than Stalker Blink, as that one unit quickly getting taken down there. A very expensive Overseer to lose, but then again, the cost has been reduced quite significantly. As we are now going to see Zerglings attempting to stop this Nexus from warping in, and able to do so. Broodlords now coming in from a greater Spire in the not-so-distant future, as Idra needs to try to figure out how to finish off his opponent. For a while there, it looked like Elfi was going to get Idra onto life support, but Idra, with so many Spine Crawlers, Roaches, and such very strong creep spread, was able to fight back all of those Colossi, Stalkers, and Sentries. I really think Elfi was missing a lot of Sentries, and he wasn't able to get the engagements that he really needed to. A lot of Spine Crawlers still being built over here. what, the third base has already been mined out. The second base has only 6 mineral patches left. This base needs to be established along with this one, and perhaps even this one here, as Idra, both of them very weak economies right now, even though they're sitting on a large number of workers. More corruptors are being added. The stalkers are upgraded 2-0, as Zerglings have been pushed back once again. A lot of Overlord just spewing creep. That is a lot of Spine Crawlers. I think, yeah, this Spine Crawler just on the edge of some Overlord creep, able to not take damage. Yes, and now Idra, apparently hearing what I had to say, decided to add more there. Colossi able to finish up some more Zerglings as level 3 weapons upgrade coming in. Now, Elfi needs to get in some serious engagements. He cannot let this game go long. If he lets this game go long, then he's going to lose, as the economic advantage of Idra is just too much. The Stalkers need to engage, the Colossi need to engage, and they need to engage quickly. Down over here, Zealots were trying to perhaps do a little bit of a push. They do not have charge, though, even though we do have the Twilight Council. Not quite sure what that's about, as the Stalkers and the Roaches need to push in. A couple force fields to split apart that army is all it would take. But now that we have Broodlords with a range of 9, this is going to be very difficult, as the Stalkers, as those Broodlings, kind of funny animation, it looks like they were able to just get even more damage and pick off even more. Elfi now sitting almost at 200 food. Long distance mining with these probes, needs us to establish another nexus over here as well. Try to take control of the center, making sure that Zerglings do not run by. Only 3 Colossi in this group. Stalkers and Roaches. Oh, Stalker just running into the wrong engagement there. And we'll see what's going to be happening. An Overlord has been destroyed, as Stalkers are now pushing into this location here. Multiple Overlords getting destroyed, but this is going to be bad flanking now, as the Broodlords can just start launching Broodlings. Those Broodlings dealing 5 damage per attack, and now in comes the Blink. Roaches are going to engage. Who's going to come out on top? Stalkers are now trying to engage against those Broodlords. Roaches, force fields finally coming in, as the Roaches are now attempting to finish off those Colossus. The Colossus getting in a lot of splash damage. Stalkers are finishing off all the Broodlords, but I believe since the Colossi are now gone, the Roaches should be able to finish off all of those Stalkers, and a very good engagement by Idra, as Idra forces Elfi to say GG in Game 3 in this series. Stay tuned for Game 4.